So to start off by sketching my proportions, I like to use mostly negative shapes. Positive shapes are the shape of the actual object, so we're talking about Taehyung himself in this case. Negative shapes here relate to the spaces between the objects. So I'm gonna focus on the triangle you see formed by his hair and the trapezium on the bottom to mark the limit of his jawline. You can see that I took my time trying to pick up a mid-tone in the first stage, but something that helps me to pick the first base tone is just to put my canvas smaller and kind of squint my eyes and see what color I see mostly on the skin palette. And after that, I will go and try to move my color picker in an L shape to find the darker shade for me to start blocking out the shadows. Looking at our reference, we can tell that our light source is coming from the front, so that means that our side planes can be blocked with this darker shade. So we're gonna do that for his right side, his left side of the nose, the bottom of the nose, and mark off our eye sockets as well. To block out the hair, I simply focused on those three shapes that you can see on the screen. I'm using a flat brush with opacity and up to 3 colors so far. Don't worry if it doesn't look pretty, building colors will take time, but the goal here is to be able to read form clearly and to get your proportions as accurate as possible, working always from general to detail. Looking at the reference, we can see the brightest values are located in his nose and cheekbone. To add this light, don't go crazy with a white shade. Instead, try to pick up your mid-tone and add brightness and a little bit of yellow to it to make it more natural. It took me a lot of practice and time to feel confident in building my own colors. When I started, I color picked a lot and that was okay. But I want to show you how I slowly learned to let go of it, and this is a trick that will help you to train your eyes to see and learn about color. I'm gonna focus on the color I see on his top lips, and I feel like it's a dark red, so I'm just gonna move my color bar to a reddish shade, and then I'm gonna pick the actual color and I'm gonna compare it side by side. And as you can see, the color is almost the same. It's not the exact, but has a close value, and if your values are right, then you can put almost any color you like and it will work. So don't be scared to make your own choices. Overall, I'm happy with the main volume so far, so it's time to start adding more complexion to it. To do that, I'm gonna pick up a default painting oil brush and we're gonna start defining the facial features. To adjust your proportions, you can use the liquify filter. When I paint with charcoals, I keep going back to see my painting from a distance. In Procreate, I do the exact same by putting my canvas a lot smaller. Doing this will help you to see more clearly the differences between the reference and your painting, and will help you to spot your mistakes. To mark the eyes, I use the initial blue shade that will serve as base for all the other colors inside the sclera, and I also marked my pupil and iris with a dark shade. Flipping your canvas is another way to easily spot mistakes. Don't forget to do it from time to time. We have a more solid look in our painting, and we are gonna focus now on my favorite part, which is the eyes. We can apply the same negative shape logic here to help us put them in the right size, which is something I know I have a natural tendency to screw up, so I'm more aware of it. And here's some important tips I can give you about painting eyes. The upper eyelid will produce a cast shadow, so you can mark a darker value on the upper part of the sclera. The lashes will also produce cast shadows, and this is why the eye corners are usually darker. The sclera has a base blue shade and the corners have more red shade, so you can go on and try all of this out. If we squint our eyes right now, we can tell that the colors are almost equivalent, but I want you guys to focus on this specific triangle that is showing right now, because here's where we have the lightest values, and clearly in my painting you can see that I lack in those. So this is just a small example of how using shapes can help you improve and fix problems in your paintings. At this point, I feel like I'm finally ready to start blending the colors. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that usually when you blend colors, they will get a little bit muddy and different from the original ones. But don't worry about it, we can fix that later with the airbrush. Just pick up a soft brush and lower the opacity and start mixing all the shades together. As you can tell, we have been slowly building the colors for a while now, and for some reason I did not realize my color scheme was becoming too desaturated, and a quick way to fix this is by opening the curves filter and play around with it. Our reference does not have a high quality, but that's okay. We can do a quick research for HD photos and try to complement what you have with the new visual information we can find. As you may know, I have been experimenting a lot with skin brushes, so I developed 3 base brushes. One of them is this one, and as you can see, I like to use them in overlay or screen mode to give me a map for the detail and paint over I will do next. Here I'm using the default texture I shared with you in one of the previous tutorials. To use this, just apply it and set it to overlay. After, mask it out and paint the mask with black. Now all you have to do is paint with white on the mask layer to show the texture beneath. Most of my skin texture is painted by hand, so I take my time painting it. I know I did not have a lot of information on this to share with you, but truth is I just limit to paint almost one pore at a time, and I keep in mind that each one needs a shadow in order to gain volume, so it's not enough for you just to put a white or a clear dot in the skin, you need to add volume to it. And to wrap it up, this was my first time ever doing a voiceover, so I must confess that I was extremely nervous, and I hope that you liked watching my process from this perspective and that somehow it was helpful to you. Thank you so much for staying with me and supporting me here, it means the world to me.